Hello YouTube, BlueMatona here, and welcome to this episode of Game Guides, where I'll be taking a look at the starting position for the Julii faction in Rome Total War. So the Julii are the traditional red Roman faction, controlling the northern portion of the Italian peninsula. Same as the other playable Roman factions, the Julii start with two core provinces on mainland Italy, Arretium, their more western and capital city, and Ariminum, the city bordering the Adriatic Sea in the east. The two provinces span the entire width of northern Italy, meaning that the Julii guard the other Roman factions from any land-based threats, since the rest of Italy you would have to cross water to get into it. Arretium begins the game with an income of negative 45 denarii per turn, a population of 4,000 with a 3% population growth. With the high public order of 150% though, you're able to jack up tax rates immediately to very high at the start of the game without happiness dipping below 100%, which I really recommend doing. When you do this, the population growth drops to a still reasonable 2%, but income spikes to 397, giving you a much needed early game income boost. And with this 2% population growth, it will take Arretium 21 turns to get to 6,000 population threshold, which is where the city expands to the next size up, and it will take more than 21 turns to build all the buildings before the expansion. So it doesn't really slow down your city expansion at all either by doing this, so definitely worth taking the extra income at the start of the game. In the settlement details screen, you'll see that Arretium has a base farming growth level of 3.5%. A look into the trade screen shows that the capital city exports marble and iron while importing glass and textiles from Patavium and pottery from Ariminum. Ariminum, on the other hand, begins the game with a negative income of 205 denarii, a population of 3,500, and a growth of 3%. Even though public order only starts at 125%, I'd recommend setting taxes here to high in order to get that early gain income. This will keep the public order in the green above 100%, but you can tick it up to very high as well, and the public order will drop a little bit, but it might help a lot with early game financial issues, and it'll let you get maybe an extra unit or two when you start attacking the Gaul cities in the north. Ariminum also has a base farming growth level of 3.5%, and unlike Arretium, does not start with a port, and therefore does not have any sea imports and exports. I would definitely recommend building a port immediately, since having a port on the Adriatic Sea, which is the eastern coast of Italy, will open up trade opportunities with the rich countries of Greece and Macedon, which are going to be really profitable. And this city exports its one trade good, pottery, to all surrounding provinces while importing glass and textiles from Patavium, marble and iron from Arretium, and timber and copper from Tarentum. It's important to note that for both these cities, trade with the Gallic town of Patavium will likely be cut off early in the campaign, as the Gauls are the primary enemy of the Julii, especially in the early game, and war is inevitable, which will cut all trade ties. So as you can see, having that port in the east to trade with the other countries is definitely a must-have. Shifting gears to the military, the Julii start with 4 armies, 2 in the field and 2 based in cities, as well as 1 navy. The Western Field Army is led by Vibius Julius, a general more suited to be a governor of a city than a general on the field, although he does have that 1 command star. The other army in the field is led by your faction leader, Flavius Julius. This 47-year-old general is very well-rounded, and his high command stars, partnered with his other helpful traits, make him a pretty prime candidate to lead one of your early Roman armies on the offensive and take hold of a major enemy city, like one of the 2 Gallic ones in the north, where his influence will help manage public order pretty well. This is also the only Julii army at the start of the game that has an infantry unit better than the basic Hastati. As you can see, it has 1 unit of Triarii, and the only army to have an archer's unit as well. In the capital Arretium is faction heir Lucius Julius's infantry garrison, and finally in Ariminum in the east is an entirely town watch army led by Quintus Julius. Quintus is a general that you want to focus on training up in the early game, as he's young at only 29 years old and has a very favorable military trait in Drill Master, which gives his armies 25% more movement each turn and the 10% discount on training costs. Also, He has the natural-born general trait, starting him off with 3 command stars, and he even gains a 4th command star when attacking. The one fleet is positioned inside the Arretium port, and it consists of a small force of 2 bireme ships. The Julii also start with 1 spy, the expert skilled Decius Curtius, and 1 diplomat, Sextus Antio. You will begin the game allied to the other Roman factions, the Brutii, Scipii, and the Senate or SPQR, with your only enemy being the rebels. Also at the start of each campaign, regardless of which difficulty level you pick, you'll be given the Senate mission to take the province of Segesta, which is a tiny and barely defended region to the northwest of your starting position that is owned by rebels at the start of the game. The game is trying to point you north towards your immediate enemy of Gaul, which is clearly stated if you watch the intro scene for the campaign.
That's why I'm here, the leader of the Julii, to bring Roman order to stinking Gauls.
Once the war with Gaul progresses, you'll find yourself encountering the other northern European barbarian nations of Germania and the Britons. I would recommend that you focus on weakening Germania as soon as you can, since they have some of, if not the strongest barbarian troops in the late game. So really knocking them out early, or at least weakening them, will help you not have to manage with as many of those troops as the game progresses. The next obvious option for the Julii is to expand west towards Spain. You can cut through the Gaul and barbarian-owned provinces of southern Europe to get there, or use the island hopping method, expanding through the central Mediterranean by taking the Carthaginian island provinces of Corrales and Palma, and then Corduba, the one Carthage province in southern Spain, which you can use as a foothold in the region to position armies and then expand northwards. An early game alliance with the faction of Spain that can be broken later on once your position is more secure will make this strategy a lot easier, as they will keep Gaul occupied in the west, as well as not attack you immediately after you expand into the Iberian Peninsula. A combination of these methods, which I genuinely recommend doing at the start of the game as well, allows you to sandwich Spain from both the north and the south, essentially guaranteeing victory. And another advantage of the island hopping strategy versus Carthage is that it allows you to expand southward into the island of Sicily and even North Africa as well, not only gaining valuable provinces such as Lilybium and Carthage, but also cutting off your fellow Roman faction of the Scipii. Expansion east is possible as well, but likely the third best option. While the towns directly to the east are all barbarian controlled and fairly easy to expand into, the land is very open and surrounded by potential enemies, making it a real pain to hold on to if you expand too early and stretch your forces too thin. A quick conquest of Western Europe and Spain allows for the Julii to use the natural barriers of the water and the edge of the map in the west to defend their cities, making it so you only have to leave minimal forces guarding these areas once they're all captured. And you can stack your armies in the east after having this natural defensive position in the west, therefore allowing you to move east with a fuller force that will be able to conquer land and hold it, whereas expanding there early in the game and trying to expand west might stretch out your forces just too far away from each other. So that's pretty much how the Julii start off. They have a very, very good economic opportunity, especially if you can expand into the North African countries, because a lot of those Northern European provinces really aren't too valuable. So you want to take that island hopping method, I would recommend, and get those valuable trade resources that are available, because there just isn't much there in the north. So from this position in northern Italy, with natural defensive position from the other Roman factions in the south, the Julii will be able to expand and have a great campaign through the barbarian countries, as well as to the west and the east in the later game, before eventually starting the civil war against the Roman countries. Thank you all very much for watching. If you liked this video, please don't hesitate to like, comment, favorite, or subscribe. And as always, I hope to see you all next time.